Now, as only Art Volo can do it, he keeps track of these things. Mr. Radio's best friend, he used to be called. I'm not sure what they call him now, but he has archives. He has video of all of us doing our shows, et cetera, et cetera. But he points out, and he contacted me, and I'll tell you why in a moment. It's hard to believe, but today, February 28th, 2019, marks 10 years since the passing of radio's most venerable, most beloved news voice, Paul Harvey. I can't believe that. And as Art pointed out, I used to fill in for Art, not for Art, I used to fill in for Paul Harvey on his national broadcast. That does bring this anniversary even closer to home because I can't believe it's been 10 years. But Paul Harvey Arant, born in Tulsa, died in Phoenix at the age of 90 on this day. And Paul Harvey News and Commentary at its best was carried on over 600 stations nationwide and on Armed Forces Radio. I used to fill in for Rush Limbaugh, and I used to fill in for Paul Harvey, and really the pinnacle for me, it was just more challenging, was filling in for Paul Harvey, because I got to actually write news, which I don't generally do, and it was really a pleasure and a privilege. A privilege and a pleasure filling in for both of these guys who were at the pinnacle of and the best in history in their occupations in radio. You can see a Paul Harvey keynote address, his last address to the radio industry, on YouTube if you just search Paul Harvey keynote. So think of that. Art Volo went on to say his mother, Amy Volo, his late mother, actually made Paul Harvey's famous For What It's Worth department his end kicker. In 1974, she lectured for Weight Watchers, which had bumper stickers that said, "My spare tire is in the trunk." And a member of her class put the sticker on her car, and someone broke into the trunk and stole the spare. It's a true story. That's the end kicker.
A great Paul Harvey story.
And
wow.
You have a great Paul Harvey story, too, Dick Hafner. You saved ABC from massive embarrassment.
This would have been massive embarrassment. Yeah. The network used to feed us what we called news calls, big collections of tape every hour at the bottom of the hour. So at 8:30 one night, I was here in 2004, September of 2004, I was here at 8:30 at night and was collecting the ABC news call. And cut number 8 came across. And maybe I was the only one listening along the line for this cut.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news.
It was the voice that millions of Americans knew as well as their own, a voice heard by more radio listeners than any
An
other.
obituary came across for Paul Harvey, an obituary where ABC was announcing that Paul Harvey was dead, but the problem was he wasn't. This was in 2004. He didn't die until 5 years later. So the network was reporting the death of Paul Harvey, their own big star, in the news call. So I promptly called. I called ABC's newsroom and told them, "Is there anything going on here that I'm missing?" And they said, "Well, no, it's kind of slow." And I said, "What about the death of Paul Harvey?" And the guy pretty much dropped the phone. And I said, "You've just been reporting it. Cut number 8 of your news call. You just sent the obit of Paul." Well, there was a long pause, and he said, "We'll get right on this." And about 30 seconds later, a frantic call over what we call the squawk box, a speaker that is hooked up to all the radio station newsrooms along the line, said, "News call number 8. Cut number 8, do not run. Kill, cut number 8. Please kill, cut, do not play." And they ran that alert all the way down the line for the rest of the night to keep the stations from reporting the premature death of Paul Harvey.
I wonder if Mr. Harvey ever had heard that story. I bet not.
Oh, no, I bet they
bet
kept it
nobody
a secret.
mentioned it to him. And then there's the story, and we got to go, when he went to the Mayo Clinic and asked them to do a longevity study on him on how long they thought he would live. And, of course, nobody wants to do that. And the Mayo said, "Oh, Mr. Harvey, we can't." No, take a look at all my vitals, take the blood, do all that, and give me a best guesstimate. And they said, "Well, Mr. Harvey, we think that you've got at least a good 15 years left." He said, "Okay, thank you." He went back and called the ABC offices and said, "I want a contract for 15 years.
Oh, man.
I want my contract extended for 15 years.
Good for him.
Oh, God bless him. There are a lot of Paul Harvey stories, but there's never been another Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey would be proud of what you just said.
On this, the 10th anniversary of his passing, you've just made me emotional. Stop that, Richard.
Paul Harvey would have put it in very similar terms that you just put together off the top of your head.
That's the finest compliment I've ever had. This goes into the compliment file, Dick, that goes back to Alex Haley of Roots fame. It's Alex Haley, wasn't it?
Yes.
Alex Haley of Roots fame, a million years ago, sitting in my studio at WMCA in New York. And he had no idea that he gave me one of the highest compliments. Now yours goes in with that compliment drawer, that file, when he said, Paul, you remind me of a young Johnny Carson.
Wow.
And I was like dumbfounded and thrilled because there are fewer, I can't think of any more higher compliment than that, other than the one you just paid me.
Absolutely. Well, now you're a not so young Johnny Carson.
But I love the Paul Harvey reference, having filled in for him for years and missing him every day. I really do. I just said that to somebody yesterday. I miss him every day.
Yeah, a true great.